dude, I don't know how you do this. You're so friendly too. Like, you're so easygoing. Like, look at you. You seem so peaceful. Like, you don't seem like a shell-shocked guy. You know, you really don't. You seem very, very even.
Oh, that's good to hear. 6 months ago, a few friends said, yeah. I mean, I think I still have PTSD, but it definitely helped. And I bumped into a friend of mine, the Dan Reed, who made the Michael Jackson documentary. I saw him in New York a few weeks ago.
Neverland documentary?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he said, Ben, you just seem a bit calmer.
What is your take on that documentary? I have not watched it, but I've heard that those two guys had testified saying that nothing had ever happened to them before this, and then now they're down on their luck, and now they've changed their tune and saying that it was...
They go into that in detail in the doc, and basically they'd been replaced by the new young boy, and had been kind of kicked to the side, and then Michael reached out and said, I need you to help me. And they say it was exciting, the idea to be back in Michael's good books and be wanted by Michael again. Oh. So they talk about that very openly. I had dinner with them a week before the film came out, and I believe them.
Really?
Yeah. And one of them certainly, I think, has what looks like the symptoms of PTSD, and the other one, I think, went through therapy before he was able to talk about this stuff. So I don't think they're doing it for financial gain.
What did you think about the doctor, Michael Jackson's doctor, saying that he was chemically castrated?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear that?
No.
This is something that we've talked about before, because his voice was so different. And to me, I said a long time ago, before his doctor came out and said he was chemically castrated, I said he sounds like a castrato. He sounds like one of those men who were taken as boys in, the 1800s and the 1700s.
So he chose to do it, the doctor's saying?
I don't know. I think the doctor's saying that his father did it to him. I think that was... this is the doctor that killed him, by the way. Right. So take that with a grain of salt, right? But he was saying that he chemically castrated him to preserve his voice, which, it sounds preposterous until you look at his frame. I mean, he did not have the frame of a person who had testosterone.
Is he also saying
kids? He did not
saying
have
those kids are not his kids?
They're not his kids.
Right.
They're definitely not his kids.
I mean, this is what we were talking about earlier, about how it's easy to get the facts to fit a theory,
Right, but those kids are not his kids. Those are the whitest kids you're ever going to look at.
Yeah.
They're really white. I mean, they're not part African American. I mean, and we got to remember, before his vitiligo kicked in, he was very dark. He looked like his brothers.
Yeah.
He looked like his father.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I don't know.
I hadn't heard that theory before, that his kids weren't his kids.
Really?
I mean, I haven't heard many theories. I don't think that much about Michael Jackson, so.
I mean, I think that's just been pretty much established. Yeah, that his kids weren't really his kids, and I think the woman that he had children with, I think, was on the record saying they never had sex.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, I think they talk about that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But we had a similar case in the UK with Jimmy Savile, like the most popular.
Oh, that seems even worse.
And the documentary is great because it's a portrait of how you groom not just a kid but the family as well. And in some ways, you groom the entire country to the point where if accusations come out, everyone says, "No, not him, no way."
Right.
That's how it works.
Well, he looked like a monster.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Jackson looked like a monster eventually, but when we always go back to him as a boy when he was singing ABC, I mean, he was this adorable little kid, incredibly talented and so dynamic and exciting to watch. You're like, God, he's so talented. Look at him.
Yeah.
And then in Thriller, I mean, everybody loved him.
But Jimmy Savile looks like a monster in retrospect. I wrote to him as a kid. Because he had this show called Jim Will Fix It.
Right,
where he'd grant you your wish, and then you'd sit on his lap and he'd give you a medal.
You got off light, buddy.
No one thought he was a monster back then.
Wow.
No one.
But he was so hideous.
Yeah. And Louis Theroux did a great documentary with him. Where he keeps his mother's bedroom exactly as it was, and all the clothes hanging in the closet. And But honestly, in his lifetime, this was not discussed. Not even questioned. Yeah. And like I say, I think he groomed the entire country.
Well, there's so many cases like that where you have this systemic pedophile situation that doesn't make sense. Like, how did this last? Like Penn State, like the Sandusky case. Like, how did this last? How did everyone seems to have known about it? How did it last?
And people had seen a kid in the shower.
Yes.
And hadn't. I mean, you think now you'd kill yourself if you didn't, intervene in some way. I think it's also easy to forget how much that wasn't part of the conversation back then, though. The idea that there are pedophiles out there and it's actually incredibly widespread. That just wasn't right. That wasn't something people were worried about back then, from my memory at least anyway.
No, it was church, it was Catholic Church, priests. We knew about that. Other than that, there was no discussion of like some world famous football coach who was secretly fucking kids like that. You never heard that. I mean, and Paterno, they think, had to have known. There's no way he couldn't have known, or at least been exposed to some of it.
And to the conversation we had earlier, I remember that great documentary where a guy protests in front of the statue, and another guy comes up and tries to beat him up just for daring to suggest that you know, this hero of his would be capable of that. Yeah, people just, you know, they just can't fathom it because they've been so well groomed.
It's also Penn State football is just like, it's a religion. It's so important to them. And to see that these people that were in charge of it were so fucked up.
Yeah.
Jesus, man, this show's a bummer.
Sorry about that.